Welcome everyone to this very special video about a couple of D&D series that are very close to my heart. All of them have the collecting link of Daniel Rustage and his merry group of YouTuber friends. But I think the very important thing to do right now is introduce you to the man that once said,
"You can use the N-word."
Daniel Rustage, the DM. This man is really easy to blackmail with his own words. Jesus fucking crap. Daniel Rustage is a nerdcore rapper and streamer that began his career in 2011 at the young age of 13. Yes, you are a failure. He started making music about his boy's favorite show, My Little Pony, which led to him making music about video games and then manga and anime. He blew up in the nerdcore scene with his Kakashi rap, and now is considered one of the kingpins of nerdcore. Would you believe that this man could go this hard?
No diamonds gold that'll get me. My eyes on gold when I'm let free. No crime unsolved when I MC up on the mic and the flow's elementary. I rhyme so cold like the deadbeat. Mine to behold when I next speak. Don't lie so bold, you ain't met me up on the mic and the flow's elementary.
You will? Fair. He currently releases songs every other week, releases albums once in a while that are bangers. He has a secondary channel where he has other songs, VODs from his streams that are not related to the topic of this video, his podcast with other nerdcore rapper and soulmate, Schwabity, called Down the Hobby Hall, where they talk about hobbies and interests that they have, and the topic of this video, his D&D campaigns, VODs. Rustage has 3 D&D campaigns, 2 complete and 1 currently ongoing by the time of this video. So I guess let's go in order. I'll not try to spoil anything major, but here's what I'm going to talk about. I'm only going to talk about the players, the characters as they are in the first couple of arcs, and what the campaign is generally about. The story of the origin of One Piece D&D is pretty easy. Rustage wanted to run a One Piece themed campaign and got some friends that knew about One Piece. And only one of them that has played D&D before. So, let's meet them. Transitions are hard. Tekken 101 is a YouTuber that primarily talked about Bleach, but then switched to One Piece after Bleach ended. He mainly discusses the new chapters that come out and does explain videos about the world of One Piece in general. He's also known as the King of One Piece, thanks to his extensive knowledge on the series in the canon and both non-canon sites. Hell, there are multiple videos of him doing One Piece trivia with other YouTubers, including Rustage and the other players, and just dominating all of them. Noble, also known as Lost Pause, is a YouTuber and variety streamer that plays video games and reacts and comments on news based on anime and video games. He also has the most infectious laugh. And he's very old.
That joke is funny!
He also has a D&D campaign of his own based on Pokemon, where Rustage is one of the players. I haven't watched it, so I'm not gonna comment on it. Is it good? Too Spooky is a YouTuber who mainly does facts and explain videos on anime and video games. He has by far the most drastic transformation in the campaign in terms of appearance. He went from your typical nerd to catgirl. Briggs is a YouTuber and streamer that, mainly for his podcast Rant Cafe, talks about anime with other co-hosts that I'm not bothering to learn their names. He also has a D&D campaign with his Rant Cafe co-host and taking, and again, I haven't watched it, so I'll not comment on it. Is it bad? So the stage is set, and on March 28th, 2020, in pandemic years, you know, the best times to live in, the first episode of One Piece D&D is broadcast. So let's meet the characters. Great transitions, let's go. The captain of the soon-to-be named Devil's Look Pirates, named as such because they roll crazy, and because they have luck, I guess. William Chapston, played by Tekking, is the rogue of the group that forgets the fact he's a rogue. He's a charismatic leader that does whatever he pleases at the current moment. not thinking about any consequences his actions might have. As such, he's more of a trickster, his goal only in fame and fortune with vacuum plans that sometimes work. Sometimes, but his art and care goes to the crew. Most of the time. And he kills old people. All the time. At the start, he starts out as the pirate captain that you might see in general fantasy, but then becomes the wild card of the group. Not only because he does random shit, but also because he gains a devil fruit, the roulette fruit. His ability is that he can gain any devil fruit ability that has existed in the series. Canon, non-canon, and even fan-made. He does have a limited time of around 10 minutes or so he's not that powerful, but his fruit can either be the most helpful thing in battle or an hindrance to others. Like at first there were so many fungus-based devil fruits. What the actual fuck? Duros, played by Noble, is the first mate, a former knight who, after being taken advantage of by his kingdom, decides to become a pirate to find his own sense of freedom. He's a fighter whose main thing is protecting the crew from harm's way. He's the moral compass of the group, trying to stay willing to do the right thing and not bet people's lives for a devil fruit. That was not a specific example. You can't prove. Goddammit. His other traits is that he likes hats and has a tendency to get weapons that can talk to him. The first being a gold armor that has a devil fruit inside it, which allows him to be a stand user from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Yes, that's a true plotline. I mean, it's not really a plotline, it's more like an episode. It's more like a scene, actually. JoJo is in there. There you go. That's your first spoiler. Am I gonna do a spoiler count? I'm not. Verona, played by Too Spooky, is the navigator of the group and the one that has the more interesting design out of all of them because he's not a pirate, knight, or shirtless man. He's also a fighter like Duros, but he's more range focused, shooting his crewmates with his gun during battle. Yes, you heard me right, he shoots his crewmates during battle. I said he's the navigator, not sniper. Because he has a dark, edgy design, he also has a dark backstory that's sorta edgy. In this case, his father, a captain in the Marines, was killed by a fellow Marine by blowing his house on fire, which Verona was in, heavily scarring the child. Now he just wants to find the man and kill him. We also found out later that his dad is literally the best family member he has because the rest of them are fucking evil. He also has the prominent trait of using Talk no Jutsu from time to time, and they can give pretty good moments. He also gets a double fruit, the Annie fruit, which allows him to animate any object that is smaller than him, and it can lead to great moments as well. Ragnar, played by Briggs, is the shipwright of the group and also a bear. Okay, he was not a bear at first. He's the first of the group to get a double fruit, the bear fruit model Grizzly, that allowed him to turn into a bear. You only need to know 4 things, other than being a bear, about Ragnar. He has a distinctive laugh. He's a barbarian, not only in class but also in what he did. Barbarians are now a thing in One Piece. No, the Elfback Giants don't count. His wife, kid, and entire village got taken away and sold from a pirate. He wants to be the strongest in the world so that he can protect his loved ones. That's it. That's all you need to know about him at this current point. Okay, there's one more thing. He's really good at making anything out of wood. Of course, there'll be more to him as it goes later on, so I won't comment, but Ragnar is your typical barbarian. I'm not saying it's bad, but that's him at the start of the series. And also, during the course of the campaign, they gain new crew members that are just as wonderful as the players, and to show you that, I'll talk about the first 3 crew members they recruited. Kinda? Mad G, thank you, is a sheltered girl that was forced by her father, a king of a nation, to become a weapon of mass destruction by forcing her to consume the double fruit, the dragon fruit model Western Dragon. She acts like a tsundere at first, but eventually becomes a more reliable crew member as the campaign goes on. Gravy is a bubbly chef that the crew found and decided to take him in. He's in the background for the majority of the show, but his backstory comes to play in a major way and becomes a central figure in a saga. Yes, they do have sagas like One Piece, and yes, they're all just as wonderful. Louis Leclerc was the captain of his own ship from 30 years in the past until he accidentally sent himself forward in the future because of his devil fruit, which might be the Tick fruit from canon? Maybe? He joins the crew as a musician, although he's used more for French jokes and mind slander. But he does become important later on, trust me. Oh, and there's also Jimmy. Enough said. Now, what about the campaign itself? I mean, it's great. It's a really entertaining story from start to finish. Now, of course, the story is a little clunky because, again, 3 of them have never played D&D before, and William just took the spotlight for most of it. But as the series goes on, they become more comfortable in their characters, and it's really enjoyable to watch. Now, I have to confess, this is the one that I have the least experience with because I didn't fully watch the entire thing. I did watch the first episode and then a little bit of the second, and then beats and bots from the first and second arcs. I became a regular watcher during episode 17, the start of the G4 arc, which might be a contender for the best arc in the One Piece D&D. It's so fucking good. And I think right here, it shows the strengths of the campaign. It's a game where a bunch of people gather around and play D&D before it comes to a compelling story that's dictated by dice and roleplay. And also, you don't have to watch One Piece to understand it. It's set during a time period where nothing really happens in the story because the story hasn't started yet. The only other connections towards the main story is that we get to meet the father of a character who appears later in the canon story, and actual characters are nothing like what they are because of shenanigans that I can't say yet. So you're perfectly able to watch it without worrying about spoilers besides some setting and location stuff, if you're worried about that. The characters are wonderful, the player characters bounce off each other really well, and the NPCs are there. I'm not saying that they don't have great moments, but there are too many of them, and because of that, there's no way for Rustage to handle them in a cohesive way, so they don't get to do much unless a player character is talking to them directly. The campaign itself is a very fun affair of great chemistry from the cast, a compelling story by the DM, and a fun experience for everyone. One thing to note about this campaign is that it sets off a lot of tropes between the campaigns themselves. Mainly, the end story segments. Oh god. These are segments in which Rustage narrates a story about a character's whereabouts in this current storyline, just for the audience, and he also expects the players to watch them, I guess, and I just give them most of the time because I generally don't care if anyone else and it's not a good thing. That's enough about that. Okay, let's continue. Because it was the first campaign, I have more stuff about it, including 71 episodes of the actual campaign, a OVA panel where they actually played it live in person in front of a crowd, and Jimmy was there. And Rob Rustage did for his album with singer Maguire that slaps, a card game that's fun. I think I've never played it. And 2 one-shot movies where one of the players DM'd Taking Spooky, and Rustage plays as the characters that actually appear in the campaign later, making them more canon than actual One Piece movies. Also, both of them have more tie-in stuff to One Piece lore in general than the campaign as a seriously, Rustage. You could have just been an entire world and nothing would have changed. I mean, he did. In episode 39 of One Piece D&D, Rustage announced another D&D series where he would run an isekai-themed campaign where returning players Tekken and Briggs, as well as new players Shwabadi and Daniel Green. I guess it's time for new introductions. Shwabadi is a Norco rapper and streamer that mainly does Norco songs for his main channel and reactions and game shows on his second channel, Shwabados. Actually, I have something better, never mind.
Okay, I just copied Rustage.
Stated by the man himself. He has also played D&D before the series, that being the way that he and Rustage officially met. Besides game style, Daniel Green is a booktuber where he talks about fantasy books and manga and news about the geek world in general. Rustage did say that he also has played D&D before, but then you watch the series and it turns out that he might have just misspoke because holy shit. Speaking of which, on November 3rd, 2021, the first episode is live. The premise of the campaign is pretty simple. It's an isekai. That's it. Let's meet the isekai victims that were pulled through time. Norman, played by Briggs, is a nerd that stays in his house all day playing video games and reads manga. His parents hate him and has a fascination with snake girls. So a normal Discord monitor's general day. He's the wizard of the group, meaning he's become a threat to society as a whole, and his entire arc is him trying to find snake girls. what a god. He also gets used by women very often, so you know his best love interest is a Mushroom Lion Knight. I will not explain further. Old Tony, played by Tekken, is a blue-collar janitor who has a wife named Becky and has 2 kids. That's it again. He's actually based on Tekken's actual dad, including his political beliefs. I'm sorry to say this, but Old Tony would have voted for Trump. He is the paladin of the group, which makes him be part of the morally correct side of the group. I mean, he's a blue-collar janitor. Of course, he'll have some morals, but like, God, we haven't reached that character yet. But yeah, he's a typical dad. He tries to understand the current situation, but fails at it thanks to his lack of knowledge of current times, except sports, and is a good guy that really loves his wife and wants to get back to her. Cody, played by Shawty, is a gym bro from 1984 that likes to lift and has a vegan lifestyle, which at the same time makes him the druid of the group. He actually doesn't stay to just those traits for very long. He quickly becomes the group's de facto leader, and it's voiced the reason because, well, they do need it. He also has a love interest in Little Feather, a bird person who is kind, timid, and a great singer. Alright, next up is... oh god, how am I gonna do this? So, the Shark, played by Daniel Green, is a mobster from the Prohibition era, specifically a loan shark. Get it? He's the fighter of the group, and he had a thing for knees for a while. Of breaking people's knees thing, not Snake Woman, Norman thing. He took a baby under him, naming him Baby Shark, and then giving him an actual name of Finn. And he has no consistency in the entirety of the campaign. That's actually not a knock against him. It's one of the best parts of the campaign, mostly thanks to Daniel Green's performance of this maniac. I think instead of explaining the shark, you should just experience him. Also, this campaign has the distinction of having the only time a BC has died, and because of that, a new character is introduced in his place. I won't spoil who dies and I won't spoil who plays the new character, but I will give you a brief description, although you might know who it is. But if you don't want to know, here's a timestamp to skip past this part. So in 3, 2, 1, Anthony is a firefighter from 2050 and the firefighter of the group, looking like if Chris Hemsworth became Iron Man, and he says stuff about the future that are right. I'm not looking forward to those fights. Like the former, they also have a cavalcade of NPCs that help them, such as the aforementioned Little Feather, Reaper, who does all their business, and Boneslaw, who loves arm wrestling, to just name a few. Well, outside of the characters, I guess I could tell you about the plot, since this is actually like a homebrew world. Homebrew means like made by the DM, not from any actual sources. Well, the plot is it's an isekai. That's okay, I'm joking, there's more to it. So the world that the characters are in is called Vestoria, which is a very cool fantasy setting that's nothing like other fantasy settings. Like, the races are cool, the cultures are cool, it has political power dynamics. It's so fucking cool. Anyways, in this world, there are pendants that can bring over people from our world, like William Shakespeare, who knows nothing about himself, Blackbeard, who screams his name, George Washington, who believes in the religion of democracy, and Gas Mask Jesus. The pendants themselves are based on D&D classes, and because of that, the person that has a pendant is canonically that class in the world. To that effect, these pendants have correlated gods attached to them. Hey, who am I kidding? This is not the main plot. The main plot is that the group, at the Shark's behest, open up a brewery called the Otherworldly Brewery and become stupid rich thanks to shenanigans revolving around gun rats. This campaign is so fun. It's really great in my opinion. Maybe mostly because this is the one that I started with, but it really stands on its own. Many people from the community don't watch isekai, and like, I get it, the One Piece campaigns and this are very different in tone, with isekai being more driven by comedy and circumstances that don't surround the supposed main plot, while the others have a clear story set and great characters and moments. But both of them have each other's traits that I mentioned. It's just that some are more accentuated than others. If you want a clear indication of how an episode of isekai plays out, episode 32 of Marines is a great example. One half is a purely story driven, while the other half is bonkers. And that's Isekai. It has a great story in it, but the characters, mostly the shark, make it a wonderful show you can watch if you want to laugh. Like One Piece D&D, Isekai does have some stuff outside of the series. A ride by Rustage and Trovity, an guard game, and a one-shot crossover pattern with the other series where, spoiler alert, only Cody is in it, unfortunately because Rustage is a bad DM. Oh yeah, it also crossed over in another campaign. The one we're gonna talk about now. I'm so great at these transitions, let's go. On June 8th, 2023, the first episode of the next One Piece D&D film campaign, Marines, aired. This is the only, at the time, sequel campaign Rustage has done so far, with the Pirates cast playing new characters 10 years after the adventures of the Devil's Look Pirates. And I guess I can introduce you to the characters now because you already know the players. It's so weird we're at this point in the video, isn't it? Tekken plays Kai, a fisherman who joined the Marines because it seemed fun. That's it. After actually being in duty, he then tries to get himself out of the Marines through many ways, but eventually just becomes the person that really questions the morality of the Marines and what they're doing. He's the ranger of the... Oh wait, don't start saying anything. He's playing a homebrew ranger that makes it actually fun to play. Because of this, he also has an animal companion in the form of Belle, a crab. She's the best and that's what I will give you. Other things that you need to know about Kai is that his uncle is a commodore in the Marines, that he's afraid of devil fruits, and he wants to find the 7 fisherman's tool used by Mako, a great fisherman. Yeah, Kai's thing is that he's a fisherman, that's it. I wrote a paragraph for nothing. Damien, played by Noble, is a cyborg who is pretty much programmed to be loyal to only the Marines. He's the leader of the group, and also because he's a cyborg, he's an artificer. Other things you need to know about Damien is that he doesn't understand social cues because he's a robot, and that he's closely tied to one of the PC's backstories in the campaign. Spooky, I guess, I don't know. Speaking of which, Yokan, played by Spooky, is from the Long Arm tribe and is objectively the best fighter in the group. She's a monk who, from her training by her grandfather, can fuck people up. She joins the Marines because she was rescued by Juan when she was a little kid, and from then on she has this image of Marines as this bringers of justice and hope, and wants to be like them so that she can save people like how she was saved. Another note about her is that she's currently the only member in the main cast to have a devil fruit, the cat fruit model house cat. Remember when I said Spooky became a cat girl? It's because of this. Bradley, played by Briggs, is a college bro fishman who likes eating fish. Okay, I'm kidding. That's not the only thing he has. He continues the tradition of Briggs having distinctive laughs for One Piece characters.
Ja.
He's the rook of the group because daddy issues, and that means he has a catchphrase.
Now you see me, now you don't.
He washed up on Yokan's island, and because of that, trained with her to become Marines. For Bradley's case, he wants to make relations between humans and fish people better, and also to try to find his sister. His other notable trait is that he's a notable member of Gallon Bay University, GPU for life. Like the other campaigns, the other Marines are joined by a cavalcade of NPCs like Taiga, a guy that thinks he's cool but has the attitude of a mid-2012 repressed boy, and because of that is Yokan's meat shield. Heather, a bard who has a Seder Devil Fruit and is Bradley's love interest, the little feather for One Piece, I guess. And Anchor Arms, who has anchor arms. Now this might be a little bit out of left field. This might be the best campaign they've done so far. I think it's a combination of the characters being more complex and entering right from the jump, the stories being more personal and interesting thanks to their players' choices. Unlike the other campaigns, the PCs are all Marines, so they have a duty and justice to uphold, but because it's One Piece, as the story goes on, the complexity of the system and the characters' own ideals and worldview start to be more apparent and becomes very interesting to see how it unfolds. For a concrete example, episode 19 has one of the greatest roleplay moments I have ever seen. It's so fucking great. Not only does the series touch upon the Marine system on the inside, but it touches on topics such as victims in war, racism, abusive relationships. It's so good. Again, you don't have to watch One Piece to enjoy this. Not even the first One Piece D&D campaign. You could just watch this and see how fucking great the story is. Now I have told you everything you need to know about these campaigns to get started on them. And my overall message that I want to get across this video is that these campaigns aren't like other actual plays. Yeah, there might be some similarities and such, but unlike other actual plays, I was able to stay with Rustages. I never was able to watch a campaign. I could watch episodes and such, but I would eventually lose interest, and when I tried again, I was still the same. But then I started to watch Isekai and was able to stay the whole way until I caught up. The same with One Piece D&D, kind of, and Marines. I was able to binge watch the campaigns without any problems. I think there are a couple of things that make these campaigns different from the rest. They're more on the shorter side in episode length, in which one is about an hour and a half to 2 hours an episode. The longer one's from a little over 2 hours, and the biggest one yet only being 6 hours. In an environment where an episode of a campaign can run for over 3 hours, it's a nice change of pace where you can easily watch these episodes without getting bored or skipping ahead. These campaigns also show that D&D doesn't have to be purely fantasy. A lot of people, either playing the game or have never touched it, have this mindset where they think D&D is only a fantasy game and it can't be anything else. Hell, there might be people who don't want to play it because it's mainly fantasy. But these campaigns show that D&D can be played in any kind of way you want. It doesn't have to be fantasy, you just need the rules of the game, and that's it. This series shows that you can play either an existing world you like, for example One Piece, or that a world that you create doesn't have to be based on any existing fantasy tropes. It could just be a world purely based on a funny setup. Like what if you play in an isekai anime themed world? Even for an actual play, these are more interesting for someone to watch than any other actual play, except for Dimension 20, I'm sorry. They're great, because it reaches a wider pool of people to get drawn to. If you like One Piece, you can watch it. If you like isekai animes, you can watch it. If you like D&D in general but not the other two, you can watch it. And finally, when you add them together and a couple other things, you just realize it feels like a regular game anyone would have for D&D. I think these games show what an actual game of D&D would be like these days. You will get a group of friends that play D&D. You would get a group of friends to play D&D in a familiar world the group knows because you want to do that. And you might get into situations similar to the ones shown in the campaigns, in character or not. It's not a show where you watch a trained group of actors and performers tell a story through D&D. It's a game of D&D that through it comes a story that's broadcast to people where they're gravitated towards it because of the authentic interactions of normal people just trying to have fun online. It might inspire people to play D&D for themselves, or in some cases, like mine, get back into it because it shows one thing clear. D&D is for everybody. And it's the end of this video. Oh god. So this video has been in the works for like a month, off and off, because like I had other stuff going on, like school. I am in school, just so you people know. I'm not gonna tell you which grade I am because it's not your problem. And that, and finishing these series so that I could make the script. And I think I could have done this better. I think I could have done this better, but I just want to put it out because I haven't seen videos in this type of format about these series, which I truly love. And I'm sorry if my points didn't come across great. I'm sure that I could have done this better if I thought about it a little bit more better. But I think I just want to put this video out into the ether just to see how people will respond to it. If Rustage or any of the players are watching, I love you guys. I really do. Thanks for watching, and have a wonderful day. And thank you for listening to this rambling madman.